So I realized from the very beginning, when I first started hearing about like vibe coding, and in reference to sites like Lovable and Replit, where you're actually just putting in a prompt to create like an app or a website. And when I first heard that, and about the prompting aspect of that, I realized that that's exactly the way that I had been working with Chat GPT and the other like language models like that from the very beginning, and simply just because I'm not a coder or an engineer. So I come more from like the language, the writing side of it, and it's like using and starting out with like writing tools like remember like Jasper, Shopia, like different like writing where you're writing marketing copy, that sort of thing. So and you can do it in volume, and it's like and at that time still very very primitive, like one step above like the article spinners and stuff. And it's like, but I could very easily see the potential. But again, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a coder. And so I always tell people that are not, that should not like keep you away from, if you're interested in AI, like that shouldn't keep you away if you're not an engineer, you don't know the tech stuff. And that's why I do try to keep it as simple as possible while I'm discussing it with people, because it and can be so valuable. But for me, I literally had to just talk to the I mean, that was my way of prompting. Now, later, as I began learning prompt engineering, and again from the languaging side and writing, and what's the best way to phrase this, and how do you get those nuances in? So that was always my focus, and so understanding that I had to be very specific. I had to be very, and to literally tell Chad about the nuances that I'm seeing, and developing such a rapport between just the dialogue going back and forth. And again, like with the custom instructions, and tweaking those and fine tuning. And then just really getting it to the point where you can have a very robust conversation. And like I said, and in my case, with my custom instructions and with everything that I'm writing, I'm developing my voice, my tone. So it became very very easy after a while, to where it became very little having to edit afterwards, after like in writing certain copy, especially when it's supposed to be from my perspective, because we're writing in my voice, and using the tone. And now I will specify the tone, or with the languaging that I'm using, because I do have a tendency. For some reason, people think if you use big words, that makes you like stiff or like hostile or something. So I can come across as maybe very like stiff, or sometimes even aggressive, like especially in writing. So I will specify to chat, like we'll say, well, let's keep it lighthearted, let's keep it playful. So I do, like, I'm very specific in how I want the tone, but I'm always writing in my voice. And that has come from that ability, like I said, that vibe coding with the prompt specifying. And I will start it off, and I used to always tell people, and then people that I'm working with, the way that I explain using like the chat GPT, and really whatever model that you're using. But I always started it off with like a conversation. I even be like, hey, good morning. Like I'm talking to a person. But because I was able to create that dialogue like that, it becomes very simple for me to sit down like with my cup of coffee, and it's like I'm having a conversation with an actual assistant, and I can say, all right, well, I think that I'm thinking about this, or I'm looking at this, and so like what kind of suggestions do you have? And then from there we can go off to whatever. And it's like, but it's always very closely aligned with my perspectives on certain topics, or the way that I'm presenting myself. And and when I'm writing and doing like and whether that's the playful stuff on the social medias like the Instagrams and all of that, or all the way up to the articles that I'm doing on LinkedIn or Substack. But all of that is from my actual voice. And so I can take that draft that I get, and I can refine that, and I can say, okay, well, yeah, let me change that. All right, well, this is where I would say, okay, like I would have my own little idioms that I put in there. So it's very easy to refine it, and then by the time I post it, it's like it's literally saying what I wanted it to say. And so that's why I tell people, like, you didn't, and I was saying that before. Now it looks like it's becoming very much something that's very possible now with these language models.